I'm gonna get so much hate for making this video, am I? Hello there! Today I'm gonna do something a little different. I will reveal my top 10 favorite movie villains. Sure, we do occasionally get some villains that suck.
Let's kick some ice!
However, in this video, we are going to pretend those disappointments never existed by talking about my favorite villains of all time. Before we begin, please know, first off, this is all my opinion, so if you're going to be salty about it, then simply click off the video. Second, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen a certain film featuring a certain villain, then fast forward until you reach a villain from a movie you've seen. If you're watching the live premiere, then simply mute the volume until you reach someone you've already seen. Now, here are the rules. One villain per franchise, since I do not want to have too many villains from a specific franchise. And rule number 2, these villains will only be based on movies I've seen. Now with all that out of the way, let's dive right into it.
Why weren't you at elf practice?
For number 10, we're going to be talking about one of the most recognizable and intimidating Disney villains out there. Scar. Keep in mind, we are talking about the original Scar from the original 1994 film, not the remake. You know why? Because we do not talk about the remake. We don't talk about the remake. No, no, no. We don't talk about the remake. Anyway, Scar's goal was to become King of Pride Rock, and he succeeded by killing Mufasa and giving the hyenas a job to kill Simba. Although they failed, you get my point. Anyway, before he sent the hyenas to kill Simba, he manipulated him to make him think he was responsible for his father's death. I mean, I guess that's partially true. I mean, if Simba never came to the canyon, then Mufasa would have died in the stampede. Theories aside, he had one of the most gruesome deaths I have ever seen in a Disney film, as he was eaten alive by countless hyenas. The reason being they overheard Scar claiming he wanted to kill the hyenas. Whether that was true or not, it still happened. He still died. The only thing the remake does better is the fact that in the remake we get to see some of the carnage and hears yell of agony as he dies. Back to original Scar, he had, in my opinion, the best Disney villain song ever, which is titled Be Prepared. Unfortunately, that was botched in the remake.
You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you! Damn you all to hell!
For number 9, we have an example of how a movie can do better than a book. I'm talking about Smaug the Dragon. Personally, I like to call him Ghidorah's little brother. I don't know why, I just do. Anyway, a long time ago, dwarves ruled their land in peace until Smaug attacked the town and took over. He stayed there for a number of years. He was eventually woken up by Bilbo while he was searching for the Arkenstone. He started to toy around with him. Smaug was better in the movies because he was much bigger and threatening than the book counterpart, who was just some greedy hoarder with a bad temper. The reason why he's so low on this list is because it didn't feel like he played a big role in the series despite him seeming to be the big bad of The Hobbit. I know the big bad is actually Azog, but ain't no one give a shit about some random ass orc. We only care about dragons because they're fucking cool. As I was saying, Smaug should have been more involved in the trilogy. Like, in the first movie, he conquers the dwarf village. Okay. Then he falls asleep and doesn't show up until the end of the film. Bruh. In the second movie, he plays a bigger role as he fought the dwarves. Cool, cool, cool. But in the third movie, he dies in, like, I don't know, the first 20 minutes of the fucking film. I just wish he played a bigger role in the series. especially in the Battle of Five Armies. I know the main plot was Thorn growing into a corrupt king and the curse of greed and all that, but my point still stands. You could have at least had him fight in the Battle of Five Armies. While I'm fine with Azog being the big bad and all, Smaug could have been the bigger bad and, the final boss of the Hobbit trilogy. But those are what ifs, I'm afraid. If you don't want to be accurate to the books, then might as well try that, Peter Jackson. I mean, come on. Do we really need a love story between a dwarf and an elf? Better love story than Twilight.
I am fire. I am death.
You can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with you.
Alright, number 8. Who is that, you might ask? Well, his name is...
Rumpelstiltskin!
That's right, Rumpelstiltskin. I was originally going to put the fairy godmother on this list, but I took some time to think about it, and, well... Unfortunately, making an excellent cover of Holding Out for a Hero won't help her be in this list, so I'll give number 8 to Rumpelstiltskin. Well, I think we can all agree that Shrek Forever After is underrated as hell. Rumpelstiltskin is the most intimidating and one of the smartest Shrek villains I have seen. He convinced the king and queen to hand over Far Far Away in exchange for saving Fiona, but you know how it goes, Shrek has already saved her. Rumpelstiltskin was definitely enraged, and as a result, he convinced Shrek to sign one of his contracts, which promised that Shrek would go back to the good old days for 24 hours. Reason being that Shrek was going through a midlife crisis, and, his life wasn't exciting anymore, and old people stuff. Really looking forward to that. Anyway, Rumpelstiltskin used that contract against him by making it so he was never born. Now, Shrek only has 24 hours left to live, so Shrek's swamp? Gone. Fiona, Donkey, and Puss? Never met him. His hideous children? Non-existent. Rumpel enslaved countless ogres, but eventually they were let free due to the deal of the lifetime exchange of Shrek turning himself in. However, Fiona wasn't freed since she was never all ogre. Big brain moment, be like.
Nobody's smart but me!
Eventually, the ogres win and Shrek gets Thanos snapped. Then, everyone got Thanos snapped except for Rumpel, who had to watch his world fall apart right in front of him. Then he watched his oversized goose die in the original world? How exactly did that work? That's movie logic for you. So yeah, Rumpelstiltskin is better than Farquaad and the Fairy Godmother. He may not look like his counterpart in Shrek the Third, but that doesn't matter, because in my opinion, that movie never happened. I should definitely make a review of the Shrek quadrilogy. Tell me what you think. Alright, lucky number 7. Who gets this? Well, I'll tell ya. I know I said Rumpelstiltskin is the best in the Shrek category. However, Lord Shen takes the title of Best DreamWorks Villain in general, at least in my opinion. He may not be as powerful as Tai Lung or Kai, but in my opinion, he is the most evil out of the three. I think Gary Oldman did a great job making his character sound as intimidating as possible. He was calm for the most part, which gave you fear that he would snap at any second. How is he the most evil? Well, for starters, he genocided an entire panda village after overhearing his parents being told a warrior of black and white will defeat him if he continues down this dark path of making weapons, which has him assume a panda will kill him. Although at the end of the film, it reveals that a handful of pandas are still alive and healthy, but we didn't know that back then, so yeah. After he destroyed the village, he was banished. Years later, he came back to take the throne he was originally the heir to, killed Master Thundering Rhino by using a big-ass cannon. His goal was to take over China by killing Kung Fu with said big-ass cannon. Then, of course, the heroes come into the picture, and Po got plot armor and skadooshed him. But he was not dead yet. Po tried to convince Shen to join the good guys, but that didn't work. He and Po have one final fight, and Shen really lets out his anger and tries to kill Po, and but he failed, and his own creation falls on top of him, which ultimately killed him. One of the reasons why I put him on this list is because of his cunning. He knew he had no chance against Master Thundering Rhino with Kung Fu, so he killed him with that big-ass cannon I mentioned earlier. Another reason why he's on this list is because he's the only Kung Fu Panda villain that was really Po's enemy. Let me explain. Tai Lung was more like Shifu's enemy, and Kai was more of Oogway's enemy. But Shen was really the only one who played a big part in Po's life. I recently read a YouTube comment from someone that said Shen went through 3 out of the 5 stages of grief during the final battle: denial, anger, and acceptance. Now that I think about it, this villain is somewhat similar to King Ali from Paper Mario the Origami King. They're both born into royalty, they both get betrayed by those they love, they both get consumed by rage, they both want to genocide an entire race, and they both show signs of regret of their actions. Shen is basically a less racist Ali. But why so low? Well, the comedic moments that he had didn't make him as intimidating as he actually is. But shortcomings aside, Shen was the best villain in the Kung Fu Panda franchise, with Tai Lung being a close second, and Kai could have been better.
You want to see? It's a gift. Oh, it's your parting gift, in that it will part you. Part of you here, part of you there, and part of you way over there, staining the wall.
Where the fuck is Ben?
Ray Skywalker.
Oh, somebody's already leaving. Somebody's already bailed.
For number 6, we have one of, if not the most iconic villain in this list. Darth Vader. Where do I begin? I guess we can start off with his badass voice.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I'm sure we're all familiar with most of the Star Wars lore. Darth Vader's original identity was Anakin Skywalker, the father of Luke Skywalker and Leia Skywalker. Anakin has been a slave throughout his entire childhood until Qui-Gon came into the picture and decided to train him, since Obi-Wan's training was nearly complete. Although Qui-Gon was killed by Darth Maul before he could train Anakin, so that was entrusted to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But little did he know, Anakin would eventually join the dark side to protect his wife Padme from dying from childbirth. Even after joining Palpatine, she still died. Before she died was when he became Darth Vader. However, we get this iconic scene.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Then Obi-Wan defeats him, Anakin's body gets burned, Palpatine rescues him, then we get that badass suit. And we were blessed by this meme. Pretty much everything about him just screams badass. Like that breathing, you cannot get more iconic than that. But here's some of the stuff he did. He killed Obi-Wan. Oh, and who can forget about this scene?
He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No. It's not true. That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Classic. Rest in peace to David Prowse, aka one of the original actors who played Darth Vader. But why so low? Well, look, remember episode 6 when Palpatine was trying to kill Luke? Vader sacrificed himself so Luke can live by grabbing Palpatine and throwing him off the Death Star. Anakin died after removing his mask in his son's arms. So in the end, Vader still had some good in him, which means he was never pure evil like the next 5 are on this list. Now that I think about it, it's kind of like Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan, as they're both villains with some good in them. Shortcomings aside, Vader was so great that he required 3 actors to play him. 3! Anakin has been a slave for his whole life. He spent his childhood as a slave to the Jedi Order, a slave to Palpatine, a slave to the dark side, and most importantly, a slave to his own self-hatred. But he died as a free man. And he succeeded in finally bringing balance to the Force. Off topic, but I recently heard that Palpatine was in Episode 9, aka Rise of Skywalker. Which, by the way, I didn't even bother with that shitty-ass film. But if you want me to review all of the Star Wars movies, each being separated by trilogies, then comment down below and I'll consider doing it. Finally, here we are, the top 5. These next 5 villains will be ones that cannot be reasoned with whatsoever, and are just pure evil. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's number 5 gonna be? Well, glad you asked. Well, so, let me give you a hint. How about a creature that kills for pleasure? The Indominus Rex. While the Indoraptor was indeed a cool concept, the Indominus is much more powerful and, in my opinion, more intimidating than the Indoraptor. She has the DNA of the T-Rex, Velociraptor, Giganotosaurus, and many more, thus making her arguably the most powerful dinosaur in the Jurassic franchise. She was created by Dr. Wu and ended up spending most of her life in isolation. But, how is she intimidating, you may ask? Well, here's how. She's smart. She's got that big brain, you know what I mean? She managed to trick the employees to think she escaped when in reality she just used her camouflage ability and lured her heat signals. Which, by the way, I need to get something on my chest. Claire, just call the control room from the fucking cage. You dumbass. Why get in the enclosure when you don't know where to find a dangerous creature such as the Indominus? You know you probably could have prevented this entire movie if you did that. You should be fired and maybe even arrested. Sorry, I had to get that out of my chest. Anyway, she exposed the weakness of an Ankylosaurus by flipping it over on its back and attacking the underside. She convinced the raptors to fight the humans while they were trying to catch her. She slaughtered a herd of brachiosaurs and didn't even bother eating them, but instead left them on the ground to die. That here is proof that the Indominus killed for fun. Animals that kill for pleasure tend to be very intelligent, thus making them much more intimidating, like orcas, for example. The Indominus is no exception whatsoever. In fact, whenever she killed a human, she wouldn't eat them. For example, if she bit some random dude's head off, she would just spit it out and maybe try to hit the next person with the corpse. But was her death satisfying? Yeah. For starters, she didn't get nerfed in the final fight like most villains do. In fact, the T-Rex, her name is Rexy, doesn't stand a chance against the Indominus. That's when Blue came in. Rexy and Blue teamed up to take down the Indominus. While the Indominus held her own and did okay, she had no chance against the hungry mosasaur. Wanna know what the scary thing is? She wasn't even fully grown yet. Despite being a sub-adult, she is still larger than the T-Rex and even the Spino. Who knows what kind of monster the Indominus would be if she were fully grown. Her remnants made a few appearances in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, aka the sequel, which a piece of her rib was used to create the Indoraptor. Although, in the end, the sample was crushed by Rexy after the dinosaurs were let free. I'm really looking forward to how they portray the Giganotosaurus in Jurassic World Dominion. But I have one question that really keeps me up at night. If the Indominus did in fact have Tyrannosaur DNA, then why didn't she communicate with Rexy? Aside from Hot Armor, that is. I don't know, ask Altiori. Or Dangerville. Or Goji Center.
This is a fun place to be, oh yeah. The food is tasty too, yum. Let's go play, oh, let's be friends, oh. Fun time bingo. It's time to play some bingo.
It's about time that I start talking about an anime movie villain, right? Well, here's my favorite one of all. Broly. Oh, wait, no, not that Broly. That Broly. Now, the reason why I didn't put Super Broly on here was because of the fact that he was not really a villain, but rather a tragic antagonist. But C Broly, on the other hand, he is one sadistic bastard. Sure, he had a shitty origin story, and maybe a giant man-child. Well, gee, who does that remind me of? And he may be a dunce and a musclehead like that shitty incarnation of Bane in Batman and Robin, even though that is his unflenderized character. Other than that, he was crazy. He is by far the most brutal Saiyan in the Dragon Ball franchise. He went through buildings, he crushed his father while he was in a space pod, he tanked Kamehameha from Goku and showed no harm whatsoever. Hell, it took Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, Vegeta, and Trunks to fight him, and they still got their asses kicked. The only way he had to be defeated was when Goku had to borrow energy from Piccolo, Trunks, Gohan, and Vegeta and hit him with a Falcon Punch! But when he thought he was dead, he wasn't. Enter Broly's second coming. He was trapped in ice. He broke free 7 years later and already goes on a rampage. This took place after the Cell Saga, so therefore Goku was dead since he sacrificed himself to get rid of Cell. Which, spoiler alert, that didn't work. Anyway, Gohan had to fight Broly and almost got crushed. So he tried to kill Broly by luring him into the lava, which did work, but it didn't kill him. It took a family Kamehameha to kill him after Goku was brought back, only to defeat Broly. He was sent to the sun like most DBZ movie villains. He was the only Dragon Ball Z villain to have 4 movies dedicated to him. One of which is canon, by the way. Broly does not mess around. If there's one thing we should know about Broly, it's that he's a powerhouse. He took out all the Z fighters at once and did not break a sweat. Now, I know what you're thinking. If he's such a great villain, then why is he only number 4? Well, like I said earlier, his origin story was shit. He had a hatred for Goku because he cried while they were both babies. Like, what the fuck? How on earth do you remember that? And who can forget the amount of times Broly says Kakarot?
Kakarot! What's the problem, Kakarot? Kakarot!
We get it. You hate Kakarot. You don't need to say his name over 9,000 times. And also, Bio Broly. Bio fucking Broly. Who asked for this monstrosity? However, all DBZ fans, including myself, want to pretend that movie never happened. Although Evolution was way shittier, am I right? Let's hope the canonical Dragon Ball Super Broly can live up to the name of the OG legendary Super Saiyan himself. If there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I'm a huge kaiju fan. So, it's probably about time I put a kaiju on this list. So, here goes. I'm talking about Monster Zero, aka the Monsterverse Ghidorah. The way Michael Dougherty, aka the director of King of the Monsters, portrayed Ghidorah was, in my opinion, the best incarnation I've seen thus far. He's way more than just some mindless monster. First off,
That's a huge bitch!
he is massive. Sure, he's nowhere near as big as that poor excuse of a Ghidorah in Planet Eater, but he was definitely a big boy. Second, all three heads have their own unique personality. The middle head, Ichi, is the dominant head, like the smart one. The right head, Ni, is more of the aggressive head, and Kevin, aka the left head, is the naive head. Third, he was just very intimidating throughout the movie. His intelligence, his goal to eradicate Earth, he's basically one giant storm, according to MonsterVerse lore. Ghidorah and Godzilla go way back. Countless years ago they fought and Godzilla kept his title in King of the Monsters. But the dumbass humans let him free because it's not a monster or horror film without stupid human characters. Ghidorah is free and is ready for revenge.
Oh, shit.
Ghidorah and Godzilla duke it out in Antarctica. When they reached the ocean, it seemed that Godzilla's victory was near. But the stupid humans had to interfere. So now, Ghidorah is the king of the monsters, and here's his alpha call. In the climax of the film, the G-Men slap each other in Boston. Even though Godzilla had some nuclear power boost, it still wasn't enough due to Ghidorah's ability to recharge via electricity. It took a Super Saiyan burning Godzilla to defeat him, but he still didn't die. He was killed when Godzilla disintegrated his head with his atomic breath, while he had Ichi in his mouth. The post-credit scene of King of the Monsters reveals that when Godzilla decapitated Kevin during the ocean fight, his head was still useful. Enter Mechagodzilla. Yes, I know, I said I only wanted one villain per franchise, but since Mechagodzilla is just Ghidorah's mind and soul in a different body, I'll allow it. So, Mechagodzilla. While he didn't have as much screen time as his original body, but he is definitely well done. As proof that he's Ghidorah, this scene gets redone. There isn't really much to say about Mechagodzilla other than he was built by Apex, he's powered by Ghidorah's skull, which ended up taking over his body. He's also powered by some source in the Hollow Earth. Okay, now to explain why I put him on this list. For starters, he was definitely one of the more evil incarnations of Mechagodzilla that I've seen. Remember when he was beating the living shit out of Godzilla after he fought Kong? When Mechagodzilla was about to kill Godzilla the same way Godzilla killed the female Muto in the 2014 film, we saw fear in his eyes. That's how we know Mechagodzilla is not the Jaeger you want to fuck with. Hell, it took Godzilla and Kong together to even have a fighting chance. And even then, it seemed that Mechagodzilla was about to win, and Kevin would finally have his revenge. Until the human characters that I literally forgot what their names were because I don't give a shit spilled alcohol in Mechagodzilla's control system. Mechagodzilla was only stunned for a few seconds, which was their chance. At the last moment, Godzilla powered up Kong's battle axe, which is the reason they were able to win. When Kong decapitated Mechagodzilla, we see here that he didn't destroy the head, but rather tossed it aside. This might not be the last we see of Ghidorah in the MonsterVerse. Finally, we get to the top 2. So, what franchise didn't I tackle yet? Oh, of course, Marvel. Alright then, here's my favorite Marvel villain of all time. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
Oh, you stink!
I know you're probably disappointed that I didn't put Thanos or Loki on this list, but please, hear me out. All I really need to say is, Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, is an example of a perfect casting choice. For starters,
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
that quote was so legendary that he said it again in No Way Home.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
But I didn't just put him on the list for the memes. No.
But you can't do this to me.
You know how much I sacrificed?
Memes aside, let's talk about Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. His sinister voice for the Green Goblin sent chills down my spine every time. Eventually, he was killed by his own glider after he tried to confuse Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to have him think that he's back to normal when he really wasn't, which enraged his son Harry Osborn and eventually became the new Goblin. But this list is for Norman, not Harry. Dafoe was so great that he reprised this role in No Way Home, and despite being old, he still nailed it. Before I explain about the Green Goblin in No Way Home, I'll refer to Tom Holland as Peter 1, Tobey Maguire as Peter 2, and Andrew Garfield as Peter 3, since that was how they addressed each other in the movie. Now, Green Goblin in No Way Home. His goal is to corrupt the heart of Spider-Man and break his no-kill policy. When Peter 1 consecutively punched him in the face, he was just laughing as if it didn't even hurt. Eventually, he ended up killing Aunt May, which devastated Peter 1. Then, final fight, Peter 1 activated insta-kill on his own and went all dark mode. When Green Goblin was getting the living shit up beaten out of him, he was just enjoying it like the sadistic bastard he is. Eventually, Peter 1 grabbed Green Goblin's glider and tried to kill him. Then Peter 2 stepped in and ended up getting stabbed, but not killed. After that, he tried to get Peter 1 to go dark mode again by telling him that May died because of Peter Parker. Tom Holland Peter. Anyway, eventually, Peter 3 tossed the antidote and Peter 1 injected it to Norman, ultimately curing him. And he, along the rest of the Sinister Five, vanished from the MCU. Many people, including myself, claim that he is the Joker of Marvel. I am aware some people think the Joker of Marvel is actually Carnage. I guess I can see where they're going, but my point still stands. Holy shit, imagine Willem Dafoe's the Joker. But I know what you're thinking. Why is he only number 2? Well, to answer that question, let's just say that's because, in my opinion, number 1 did the same thing, but better. Although there are very few that can rival Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. But number 1, it can. And you'll know soon. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions.
We take Gotham from the corrupt, the rich, the oppressors of generations who have kept you down with myths of opportunity, and we give it back to you, the people. Gotham is yours. None shall interfere. Do as you please.
They scream and they cry. This is your day now.
The hate is swelling in you now. Take your Jedi weapon. Use it. I am unarmed. Strike me down with it.
You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive.
Not this simpler? Is this not your natural state? It's the unspoken truth of humanity.
My Rosie's dead. My dream is dead. And these monstrous things should be at the bottom of the river.
And so on and so forth. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Night, I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. Hit it!
If you won't bow before a sultan, then you will cower before a sorcerer! Genie, my second wish. I wish to be the most powerful sorcerer in the world!
Yes, time to die!
Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. You know.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
Before we get to number 1, I would like to thank our sponsor,
Shut the fuck up!
Rude. If you saw my video about why I recommend the Dark Knight trilogy, or if you recently talked to me on Discord, then this might be obvious to you. If not, then I guess it won't be. Oh well, here goes.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
The Joker. The only male villain that can look good in lipstick. Okay, maybe not the only one. Anyway, Heath Ledger as the Joker is another example of a perfect casting choice. Actually, Heath Ledger didn't play the Joker. He was the Joker. When it was first announced Heath Ledger would play the Joker in The Dark Knight, people weren't so confident in Heath due to his age. Kind of like how people weren't confident with Robert Pattinson as Batman, who, by the way, previously played Edward Cullen from the shitty Twilight movies. But look how that turned out. We got the best incarnation of the Joker, in my opinion. His goal was identical to the Green Goblin's, which was to corrupt Batman's heart and break his no-kill policy. Although, while a Goblin here was after power, Joker, on the other hand, was after chaos. Chaos! The Joker stole the show from Batman, and is ultimately what made The Dark Knight great. Like the Goblin, he is insane. He is the most diabolical Joker in film history so far. Look at the scene right here when he grabs Rachel. You see how she's squirming? That is real. That was not part of the script. I don't know what was supposed to happen there originally. Alright, he blew up a hospital, he captured Rachel and Harvey and had them near explosives in separate areas, but he changed each of their addresses, so Batman ended up saving Harvey Dent instead, which resulted in the death of Rachel and Harvey becoming Two-Face. He gave a civilian ship and an inmate ship a detonator and had to either have one ship blow up or both would end up getting blown up. And yet, after all his villainous acts, he says,
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
It's like Kevin the Assistant from Dorkly said, this is the most elaborate plan I have ever seen. When he almost fell to his death, he was laughing his ass off as if death was just one big joke to him. When Batman saved his life, he just called him weak. In fact, whenever someone made an attempt to threaten him, he just enjoys it. Example? When Harvey Dent has his life in the hands of a coin flip, the Joker showed no signs of intimidation, but rather excitement. Don't believe me? Here.
You live. You die. Now we're talking.
Want to know what the best thing is? In the end, he still wins. Sure, he may have been caught by the police, but in return, Gotham is permanently damaged, as well as Batman's reputation. Okay, Batman's reputation skyrocketed in The Dark Knight Rises, especially after his death, but you still get my point. Most incarnations of the Joker get sent to prison before they even have the chance to cause irreparable damage. Heath's Joker, on the other hand, has killed countless people in many different ways, shapes, and forms. Hell, he would even kill his fellow teammates just for the fun of it. Rest in peace to the legendary Heath Ledger. He was originally planned to be in The Dark Knight Rises, but due to his untimely passing, Christopher Nolan, aka the director of the Dark Knight trilogy, decided to cut the Joker from the film in general. Which, by the way, I thought that was a wise decision since no one here can replace Heath. If he was replaced, the film would probably get a lot of hate from people who didn't know that Heath passed away. Still, we'll never forget you, Heath. And I doubt there will be any Joker that can do better than you. So, yeah. My favorite villain of all time, my favorite movie villain of all time is the Joker from The Dark Knight. That'll do it for this list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, and I'll do more videos like this. Like, comment, and subscribe, and not only will you help support this channel, you will be notified when I upload, only if you hit that bell. But if you don't,
You go to hell before you die.
So, what's your list? It'll be interesting to hear your opinions. Who knows, maybe your list is entirely different from mine. Alright, that's all the time I've got for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. I guess I won't see you, but you know what I mean. Later.